Ladies and gentlemen, the Durham probe is expanding. John Durham issuing subpoenas and interviewing witnesses. Report. Jerry Dunleavy, March 30th, 2021, 11:13 p.m. Do you know what's hitting the fan for all the wonderful people who set up and framed President Trump? Now, you're going to say, I know there's going to be people saying, oh, this is, nothing's going to result from this. They're just going to get away with everything. You can't utilize the dossier. I don't care if people, you can't utilize a dossier purchased by Clinton and the DNC to set up and frame people. It's just not acceptable. It's not legal. Okay? It went through official channels. It went through official government channels and protocol and bureaucracy, which is part of the problem. You had text messages that showed extreme bias. And when the IG said that he couldn't find documentary or testimonial evidence of bias, he didn't say he couldn't find bias. Of course there was extreme contempt and disdain for President Trump. This is obvious. Nobody even denies this. And I'll just read you here. John Durham's inquiry into the Trump origins and conduct of the Trump-Russia investigation is chugging along during the Biden administration, with the special counsel arranging witness interviews and issuing subpoenas in recent months. President Joe Biden asked all but the interesting thing is now arranging witness interviews and grand jury testimony also are being used to gather evidence in recent months. Grand jury. Which means that there's a whole lot of evidence, or there's enough evidence compiled to impanel a grand jury. Durham's investigators are now arranging witness interviews and grand jury testimony. So, during his confirmation hearing in February, now Attorney General Merrick Garland declined to promise the Senate Judiciary Committee directly that he would protect Durham's investigation. See, okay, it doesn't matter whether he promises or doesn't promise. He can't do anything to it. It's a special counsel. Just like Trump really couldn't do anything, if you try to end a special counsel, you can only do so if the special counsel itself had committed a crime, or you could prove that they're doing something that's against protocol. And John Durham's not doing anything against protocol. He's a special counsel, just like the Mueller probe. Remember, Mueller time. And you see these, okay, on a separate note, you hear people, obsessing over Matt Gaetz. Yeah, if he's guilty, he deserves the full extent of the legal consequences. You didn't hear this schadenfreude with Bob Menendez or Anthony Weiner or a list of Democrats. The lieutenant, not accused exactly of what Bob Menendez or what Anthony Weiner were accused of, which is similar in certain respects, or in many respects, to what Matt Gaetz is accused of. And like I said, anyone accused of that should get the full, if they're proven guilty in a court of law, should get the full legal ramifications and consequences. But you never heard you never saw a schadenfreude with a New Jersey senator or former Democratic Party congressman who served prison time for sending pictures of himself to people he shouldn't have. You never see, we can go on a list of Andrew Cuomo, President Biden himself. So, misconduct allegations, they always say, well, Trump has more. Yeah, the allegations, vast majority came right when he was running for president. Okay? Attorney General, Lieutenant Governor of Virginia, President Biden himself, in a police report, accused of doing exactly what Trump talked about in a hot mic, which no one ever accused him of doing, but they did accuse President Biden. The hypocrisy is unbelievable. Then you have Andrew Cuomo. Then you have the resignation of New York's former Attorney General. Then you have the Lieutenant Governor of Virginia. Then you have Al Franken, who was forced to resign because the only reason he did resign is because of a photo of him doing something inappropriate. That's 6 off the bat. Then Bill Clinton, 7. And then we can't mention he who shall remain nameless, who was a lifelong Democrat and had a picture of Bill Clinton, or a portrait of Bill Clinton. We can't talk about things because no matter what, Democrats generally, morally superior, apoplectic, morally superior, wonderful, liberal Democrats engage in more wrongdoing. This is just, it's public knowledge record. I just named you 7 or 8 individuals right now off the top of my mind without any focus from media. And media went to bat for the New Jersey senator. So Democrats and media, and we're not even talking about the Lincoln Project founder and what the co-founders knew. But no, it's about Jim Jordan and Matt Gaetz. Okay, again, Jim Jordan, no one's ever accused him of any criminal, like he was never a part of any criminal inquiry. Matt Gaetz is. Now he says there is a criminal plot against him. Okay, so just like I say, always, if you're guilty in a court of law, you deserve to, get the full legal ramifications, especially for that type of thing. But you look at media and you look at the Durham probe, for example, the Mueller probe. They set up and framed Trump with a dossier. All the list of allegations that I told you from Democrats, it's like they obsess over their political rivals. They investigate their political rivals. They do exactly what they accuse Trump of doing. They allow and prop up people like Andrew Cuomo, who sent infected people into old age homes, where that led to 15,000 lives lost by one estimate, and his misconduct allegations were swept under the rug, or I guess that was going on while he was writing a book on leadership lessons. So you're going to have, I guess what I'm trying to get to is that Democrats can get away with a lot more. We're not even getting to Eric Swalwell, who didn't engage in what anything that we're talking about now or misconduct, but he did allegedly fall in love or have a romantic relationship with a foreign intelligence operative. I mean, from Bill Clinton to Eric Swalwell, Democrats are just a hot mess, a complete sinking ship, like a shipwreck of just, salacious allegations that are just, media never touches them. You don't get the Washington Post, the New York Times, MSNBC, CNN obsessing over Bob Menendez, and President Obama loyalist. But it's, oh my God, look what happened to Trump's allies. Look. It's like, well, the Lincoln Project, you retweeted all the time, wonderful, morally superior liberal, and look what the co-founders accused of. The whataboutism should always be used with Democrats only because they stand atop a moral soapbox, and they're really standing atop their own verbal refuse. George Orwell talked about this. The Durham probe will gain steam and will lead to eventual indictments, I believe, when Republicans control the House. When Republicans control the House, it's a different ballgame. They won't even need media on their side. But you're not good. This is like the zenith, the height of Democrats and media converging to just become this public relations entity. You're not going to have late night talk show hosts forever talk about how horrible Trump is. Okay, especially if, he runs again in 2024. Because what you have right now is you have every element of U.S. society now being conveying or communicating or trying to prop up Democratic Party talking points. Trump and everyone around Trump is a villain, and any indiscretion, no matter how, deplorable or disgusting, is just either talked about or addressed, but from a distance. They're not obsessed over. There's no schadenfreude with the 7 or 8 or 9 Democrats that I just talked about. There's no gleeful. It's not about morality to morally superior, apoplectic, wonderful, wonderful, beautiful liberal Democrats. It's not about a moral compass. the hot mic that they obsessed over does not the anger and outrage does not translate to the police report filed by Tara Reid against Biden, or Biden's son's behavior, or Al Franken, or the Attorney General of New York, or the Lieutenant Governor of Virginia, or Uma Abedin's husband, or the New Jersey senator. And so the same thing when they said that Trump was going after his political rivals, that's what they did to him. And so there's no outrage when they go after Trump utilizing a dossier purchased by Clinton, or a third-party tech firm outsourced by the Democratic Party, or gossip from an ambassador. So, I mean, I'm tying it in eventually to the Mueller, to the Durham probe, eventually 10 minutes in. All of this will change once you have Republicans, because people like Mitt Romney and Ben Sasse and Kinzinger and Cheney and even Mitch McConnell and Lindsey Graham. I mean, Mitch McConnell and Lindsey Graham, not so much, but still, you have a Republican Party that will not fight for President Trump or anyone around President Trump. You have investigations all the time of Rudy Giuliani investigated. We don't know for what, but he's investigated. Trump's kids are being investigated. We don't know really for what, but Trump's being investigated. We have no clue for what, though. They get the Southern District to investigate Democratic Party political rivals, and there's no equivalent with the Republican Party. There's no equivalent. And then they jump up for joy and say, "Oh, yay, they're getting investigated." Well, look in the mirror. Look in the mirror. Okay? Hunter Biden is being investigated right now. There's a special count by the federal government. And it's funny because Trump was impeached for what the federal government is doing right this second, actually investigating Biden's son. And so the rebuttal is, oh, well, there's nuance there. There's always nuance and context. When it has anything to do with the Democratic Party, always nuance and context. And you have to understand, I used to be the biggest Bernie Sanders booster on the internet, according to the Huffington Post. I used to be the unofficial scribe of Sanders' most hardcore voters, according to the Washington Post. I know the way Democrats run. They do what they did to Trump, they tried out on Bernie Sanders. Bernie didn't fight back. Now Trump's fighting back through the Durham probe and other ways. He took it a little overboard on Twitter. So the Twitter persona undermined his numerous accomplishments. First president to step foot in North Korea, prison reform legislation. He did a lot of great things, okay? But what they did to President Trump, they never treated him like a president. Then when he didn't act like a president at times with certain rhetoric, they said, you see, he's not acting. Well, you framed and set him up. It's not rocket science. There's all the information is there. There's now a grand jury. So if you need a Republican House, then you will see, then you will get a lot closer to actual justice. When people say, oh, nothing will ever happen, you need a Republican House because you're not going to get any media. You're not going to get media to go to bat for you. So you do need a Republican House of Representatives and hopefully a Republican Senate. And I'm not necessarily like, both political parties have a whole bunch of drawbacks. The Republicans did themselves in, okay? The Republican Party investigated a Republican president for 4 years. And then you had Republicans voting to convict or Romney, or voting to impeach President Trump. That would never happen on the Democratic side of the divide. Never. And then you wonder why Republicans lost. It's like, well, they don't act like Democrats. Democrats, no matter what, will stick by a Democrat. No matter what. The only reason Andrew Cuomo is being taken down in New York by Democrats is because he was literally the most horrendous governor, him and Phil Murphy. Anyway, give me your thoughts below. Durham probe will see indictments and actual justice when there's a Republican House of Representatives that can actually back John Durham. Give me your thoughts. Thank you.